guys, I'm Jimmy House. I'm based out of Phoenix, Arizona. I'm a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, a competitive powerlifter, and pro natural bodybuilder. Today, we're gonna take you through my push and pull day all in one session. I hope you guys like it. So generally I'll have 2 push days and 2 pull days between strict overhead press, which is what we're doing right now, some type of dumbbell press, whether that's incline or flat, and then your traditional flat bench movement for powerlifting. For pull, I put a lot of emphasis on pull-ups. We're gonna go into an ATG Row that I like to say that I created, and then some other various just concepts that you can add into your back day that'll help with more full range of motion movements. I'm very, very thankful for my best friend Irving and Amir come along the trip. My team House Strong family from back home in Phoenix. We have a very tight-knit community over there, and they're always very willing to help me whenever I need it, especially when it comes to loading my weight. So I appreciate them very much. Okay, we'll go, let's just go put 225 on. I'll go for 1 or 2. So when I'm doing the OHP, a lot of the setup comes before I even unrack the bar. You're thinking about getting your back super tight, thinking about getting your core engaged. So you'll see me retract and depress my shoulders down to get my back engaged and get my air actually before I unrack. That's where I feel I'm gonna be able to get the most pressure in my abdominal and my diaphragm to press against the belt. So that first rep should feel the most explosive, should feel the smoothest, because I take my time to set out the movement before I even unrack, which you'll see here shortly. Also, ideally, when it comes to hand positioning, you wanna find the hand position that's gonna allow you to get your forearms vertical, so elbow directly underneath your wrist. For me, I start probably more narrow than most people would, unless you're purposely trying to do a wide grip press here. As far as power and efficiency going into the bar, it's very similar as you would if you throw a punch, elbow aligned with the wrist. So play with your grip a little bit to find wherever that is for you. That way, you should feel a lot more power going to the bar, a lot more speed coming off your chest. Came a little bit off balance there, but 225 for 1 and about 205 body weight. Maybe go for 1 more single. Now we moving on. Okay, so right now we're doing our full range of motion ATG dips. Most of the time you're not gonna be able to get as low as I can right off the get-go, but the eventual goal is to get so low to where your hand is effectively almost aligned with your armpit here. So one of the ways that I progress this, if you can't do body weight yet, is just to put a band right here and let the band kind of control you on the way down. That way, you can use the band to give you a controlled stretch. As you get stronger through that stretch, eventually you go lighter with the bands, and then you can eventually do body weight, and then eventually add weight to the dip itself. In order to achieve full range of motion, for one, I want my body pretty erect, so vertical, so I want my feet hanging down. And so if I have it at a lower point, a lot of times, just the ground itself is gonna keep me from achieving that true full range that I'm looking for. So I'll start on the box, have the dip bar really high. That way I can have my legs straight and still achieve that full range of motion, as opposed to trying to like hop all the way up here. I just make it easier on myself by stepping up on the box. Short people problems.
What kind of weight do you need for it?
We'll just grab a 45. All right, thanks.
Good. Yep.
The best I've ever done was 160 for 3 at this range of motion. I got up to 200 way back when, like half range of motion, but since incorporating this new range of motion, I've got up to 160 for a triple. Right now, I'll probably try 3 plates and see if I can squeeze out 2 to 3. I haven't done this movement in a while, but it's feeling pretty strong today, so I'm definitely gonna give it a shot. My shoulders feel good, so you wanna grab one more 45. I'll do 3 plates after I do my chin-ups. When it comes to pull-ups, chin-ups, whatever you're doing when you're pulling yourself over the bar, one thing that I like to emphasize is a lot of times something like pull-up is thought about as like a very high rep movement, go till failure type of movement. To me, I see it like a squat or a deadlift, and you can build strength with it very similarly. So if I'm trying to perfect technique with the pull-up, AKA all the way down, all the way up, chest touching the bar, I may keep my sets to like 5 sets of 3, and eventually you'll start to see that grow to like sets of 5, sets of 8, sets of 10. But eventually I want to really just focus on being able to have perfect reps over letting fatigue and lack of strength sacrifice perfect form. A lot of times when you see somebody start to die in a pull-up set, for example, they might, be squeezing out pull-ups like this, or get up and go halfway down like this, just as fatigue starts to kick in. For me, I'd rather complete 3 full pull-ups. So for example, if I'm going through this set here, and I feel like this 3rd rep is my max, I'll hold at the top, control it on the way down, reset, take a quick break, go back, try to hit another perfect 3, almost work it in clusters. So maybe I take 30 seconds to 40 seconds off, and then go back and hit another set of 3, as opposed to like emptying my gas tank with 1 set of 3 good reps, another 17 reps really sloppy. Focus on perfect form, the reps will come over time. Do my last set of dips here. Nice. Good. That was 135 for a set of 3 for the ATG dips. Next back movement that we're doing, I'm going to refer to as the Atg Row. We're not only going to increase range of motion by standing on top of a box so that the dumbbell can travel below our feet, but I'm actually also going to reach across my body to get a deeper stretch across my back. This is another exercise that I find to be very specific to jiu-jitsu in the sense that we're not only having to be strong in a straight plane, we have to be strong when we're reaching across our body in various different directions, so this is a great way to train it. Also, of course, emphasizing load management so you're not going too heavy too early. Incline dumbbell press, but now again emphasis is on full range of motion. So how do we achieve that? First off, I always go neutral elbows on these presses, so elbows right next to your side. That way the dumbbell doesn't get in the way of your shoulders when you're going down, and you get a deep stretch across your shoulders and across your pecs. With that said too, you can actually gauge and see how much you're actually improving week to week with how far you're actually able to get the dumbbell down. So at the bottom, in a lot of ways, I'm actually thinking about rowing the weight into my chest to not only get a deeper stretch because I'm pulling my chest up, but to force more load on the shoulder, even the tricep a little bit, the chest, by making sure I'm stretching as deeply as I can. Again, I'm only doing 60s here, and I've gotten a lot heavier. But again, you gotta get your short range strength and your long range strength to catch up to each other. So when you're implementing new ranges of motion, always, always, always start light and play on the side of being conservative. Here we go. So a lot of times I'll see whether it's a seated shoulder press or a seated incline press with the dumbbells. We have trouble getting the dumbbells to the right position. A lot of times once it gets to a certain point, it's hard for us to basically hammer curl our weight up to our shoulders. So what I do actually is use a little bit of momentum for the first one. I basically have both dumbbells on my knees. I'll have them set up. I'm gonna stand up slightly, sit back down, and upon sitting down is when I bring my one knee up, and as I'm sitting back, the other one slams down and my other leg comes up to get us propped up. That's something that I've been doing since I was a teenager, and for the most part, it's worked pretty flawlessly. So if you have trouble with heavier dumbbells, that's one of the things I suggest doing to help you get it up properly. So this is what it would look like. Ready? Yep. Right on the edge of the knee. I usually bring my strong side up first, and then my left side comes in second. So give myself a countdown, 3, 2, 1, stand up, kick back, press. Just like that. Last couple exercises here. We're gonna be doing a horizontal narrow grip row using the MAG grip. This is really popular if you guys haven't heard of it, just because the way you're gripping your hands, a lot of times people say they feel a much better contraction than they do with your typical bar. Not that it makes a huge difference, but if it does feel more comfortable to you, I definitely recommend using whatever you feel like works best. Now, when it comes to cable exercises, the main benefit is that the cable is taking a lot of the load off of your entire body, so your central nervous system isn't in as much of a compromise. So with that said, I actually really like to take advantage of getting an extra deep stretch with this, since I don't have to worry about putting extra stress on my lower back or what have you. So you'll see here, actually, my legs are gonna be fully extended. My feet are basically being used as a stopper here. My goal is to basically round my back, protract my shoulders as much as I can to get a full stretch across my entire back, and then pull myself out of that into a fully postured position. A lot of times movements like this can be done to create good posture for us, but with a lot of these pulling movements, it's good to practice pulling yourself out of poor posture, because now you're actually working the muscles that are being used to keep us upright in our normal everyday activities. So check this out. Then after you feel like you can't do any more full reps, then you can add in some volume, pump some extra blood with more of your traditional straight arm to the stomach, reps just like this. But again, it's important to work your short and long range so you're not creating an imbalance for yourself. So one little trick when it comes to cable exercises, especially for the arms, is sometimes having it at the very top or at the very bottom is not always the best way. You want to put it to wherever your full range of motion is, or your max bend for your tricep, or your max extension for your bicep, is basically where the pulley system hits right at the very bottom. Meaning, if I have it all the way up to the top here, let's say I was a little bit shorter, I'd have to pull it down a little bit and then start going. Not to say that this wouldn't be beneficial in pumping blood to the muscle or whatever, but what I found over my years of playing with angles and the different machines is that if I could set this guy up to where right when the movement starts is when my arm hits full flexion here, generally for most people, getting it off the other plates is the hardest part. So your muscle at its max flexion here, or at its max length, is forced to contract a little bit harder. And then that way the tension, because it's a pulley system, stays heavier for a longer duration of time. So right when I begin the rep, you'll see it touch the bottom. And then when I initiate the movement, then it starts. But now I'm assuring that every single beginning of the rep that I do is where the pulley system is going to give me the most difficulty. So as a result, my contraction should be that much harder, which is what I'm aiming for, especially when it's coming to these isolation movements, and especially when I'm trying to make sure each arm is getting an even amount of work. So max extension and then max flexion here. So all the muscles around the elbow itself are also strengthening, and the ligaments and tendons, so that besides working your tricep, your elbow is also having benefits as well. Max bend all the time, flex as hard as you can at the bottom. Basically the opposite of what we're doing with curls. Another thing too, I always find it to be a little bit more difficult for triceps if my elbow trails a little bit more out in front of my body. So for one, to keep myself in that position, and two, to feel the actual contraction, I just like to put a couple fingers at the bottom of my tricep head to make sure, for one, the triceps working properly, but to also hold it in place to make sure that leverage-wise, everything's working against my tricep, which then means my tricep has to work harder to move less weight. I'm still staying big with my chest, my shoulders are retracted, making sure only my tricep is helping here. A lot of times as people fatigue, you'll start to see chest caving in, the tricep exercise becomes the push down exercise, and now you're not getting max benefit. So do as many clean reps as you can. This isn't very taxing to your CNS, but as soon as you start to see or feel other muscles want to come in and assist your tricep, that's generally when I suggest either stopping the set or lessening the weight so that you can continue on, get more volume, but still with proper form. Just like that. So today what we went over was a bunch of traditional movements like your bench press, pull-ups, dips, rows, cable rows, tricep pushdowns, and basically just found a way to achieve full range of motion through those various movements. This is super beneficial if you're a combat sports athlete like myself, if you're a power lifter, or just trying to feel better at the gym every single day, because it's always a benefit to be strong in long ranges of motion. Again, not forcing yourself to stay stuck between point A and point B all the time with the bench press or a squat or a deadlift. Finding accessories that allow you to reach new levels of movement is extremely important, especially as we get older, because if we don't start stuff like this now, it's something where diminishing returns will come in the long run, and you'll feel it once you're older. But if you can start this early on in your weightlifting journey, overall you're gonna feel a lot better and be strong in result because of it too. If you guys want to find out more information just like this, make sure to check me out on Instagram at jhouse182 or on YouTube at Jimmy House. Thanks for tuning in, guys.